Now, 2013 enters a new chapter for us here at Nights of Horror and at just my journey of Halloween Horror Nights since 2011. And that really brought in the fanboy stage of just haunts in general. I remember that this specific year was the year that I went to both Not Scary Farm. I finally returned to Not Scary Farm and went back to Halloween Horror Nights. Halloween Horror Nights was a little bit more fanboy than Knott's was. Knott's was just kind of going back because I really liked Horror Nights and I wanted to go back to Knott's to see what they had to offer again. And I really enjoyed myself that much. I don't remember too much about that night. I just remember really having a really good time. Now, going into Halloween Horror Nights this year, it was an interesting year, very much so.
The very center of hell.
You had a lot of great mazes, a lot of great scare zones, and a return of a theming to a terror tram, which was really good. Let's break down some of these mazes, though, as to what I went through and what I didn't go through. I think the only one I didn't go through that year was Evil Dead Book of the Dead. So every year we were getting closer to completing the entire event. I don't think it would be till 2015 that I finally complete every single maze at the event, but we'll get to that story real soon. Let's start off Black Sabbath 13-3D. This is hands down probably my favorite music maze that has ever been done at Halloween Horror Nights ever in Hollywood. And I remember being a big Black Sabbath fan and whatnot. Let me go back a little bit for the story of how we got here, though. Pops knew it was around the corner for Halloween Horror Nights, and he hit me up and asked if I wanted to go again. And it was me, him, and my cousin, and my other cousin that would make fun of me and his new girlfriend, who is now his wife. And we went back this year. We had a great time. I think my other two cousins joined us. And we went back, and this was the year that we were really keeping an eye on the John Murdy tweets from the Horror Nights account back when it was on the Horror Nights account, and he ran that, the hints and everything, and really just anticipating every year to see what this was going to be like. So this was the year that we really stepped it up a notch as fans. We really were following all the hints, the clues, the announcements, and it was definitely something that I won't ever forget, because just leading up to the event, we were always getting excited and whatnot. This was also the year that we also started watching a lot of the movies that were based around properties or shows or whatnot. For this year, it was the remake of Evil Dead, Insidious, and The Walking Dead. So we were already watching Walking Dead, so that was no problem. I've already seen Evil Dead that year, and I already saw the Insidious franchise, because when that franchise came out, I was very intrigued by it. Such a great franchise as well. So back to Black Sabbath 13-3D. Again, music mazes don't come very often, but when they do, like when they do in a maze like this form right here, they really took it up a step further. This was in the 747 area, so this was a backlot maze. This was, like, I think the start for me of backlot mazes. This was like the first one to really be back there, and I really enjoyed this one. This and Walking Dead were the two first backlot mazes we ever got. Started a whole new generation of backlot mazes in the Metro sets, and I really enjoyed them because they brought the music of Black Sabbath to life. They really overall just kind of brought the nightmarish lyrics of Black Sabbath to life, and I had a great time going through it. To hear a lot of the iconic music and to hear a lot of the it was in 3D still, so 3D was still a thing. But to see like videos of like Ozzy and then some of the bandmates going through this and then being impressed by it as well was really cool. But I really enjoyed what this maze had to offer because it really brought the music of Black Sabbath to life in a horror film, a live action horror film, and it was a lot of fun to hear that, and a lot of fun to hear different meanings behind what they depicted the songs meant. So that was a lot of fun to hear, especially being a heavy metal fan of Black Sabbath, one of my favorite bands of all time, to go through and hear their music. And they had just dropped a new album, which was entitled 13, which was their final studio album as a band ever. So to hear that and to kind of go through that maze, I was very excited, and it was a freaking amazing time. El Cucuy, the Boogeyman, that was in the Parisian Courtyard, and that was the year the Parisian Courtyard that was the first year they ever used it after the remodel, what you know it as today. If you guys watched the last episode of Nights of Horror Origins when we showed the Walking Dead maze area, that used to be the Parisian Courtyard right there. There was a whole kind of area that they would only use for seasonal events. It wasn't open year-round. Now the Parisian Courtyard is open to anyone except if they have events, but for the majority of the year it's open to the public other than special events and horror nights. But that was a lot of fun to go through, too. That was narrated by Danny Trejo. So that was cool to see Danny Trejo, a celebrity of his, popularity, especially in Los Angeles, Hollywood, for him to narrate this maze, an original maze that was based around the Mexican folktale of the El Cucuy, the Boogeyman. So that was a lot of fun to go through that and to see the originalness that they created with this maze. It was something that, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, they just don't do IPs. They do originals. Obviously, seeing that with La Llorona, but to see them continue to do it was really cool. And for them to really tap on Mexican folktales because, a lot of the audience in the Los Angeles area are of Mexican heritage. Not everyone. I'm one of them. But to see these folktales come to life is pretty scary, especially growing up hearing them was a lot of fun. Evil Dead Book of the Dead, I sadly never got to go through. The first time I would ever go through an Evil Dead maze wouldn't be till 2017, which was Ash vs. Evil Dead. But I didn't get to go through the Evil Dead Book of the Dead maze, and that was based around the 2013 or 2012 remake of Evil Dead, which was a lot more scarier in its time and whatnot. So I didn't really get to go through that. I wish I would have went through that. That was in the Mummy queue too, and they did the entrance the same way they're doing it with Universal Monsters Legends Collide this year, facing it towards the actual line of the Mummy. So that was a little bit of a bummer that I didn't get to go through that. However, back when they used to do Jurassic Park queue, now we're gonna be talking about this for a few years because this is a location I miss dearly. But back in the day when they did Jurassic Park queue, Insidious Into the Further was there, and I believe it was based around Insidious chapters 1 and 2. So that was cool to go through, especially those movies. The characters, the Black Bride, the Darth Maul looking demon. Those characters are very fucking terrifying, and to see them face to face into a maze and to really bring that aesthetic of Insidious to life was unreal, and it really brought the nightmare of the film to life. And I remember just walking through that with my cousin and just being blown away with it. That, by the way, that was the first year they started doing. That was not the first year. But Tucker and Specs were out there. I remember that. But we'll get into that. I think that was next year they started doing the secret passcodes to give away stuff. That was not this year. It was 2014. We'll talk about it in the next video. But Insidious Into the Further was really good. It brought all the scariest aspects of Insidious 1 and 2 to life. And to see and be immersed into that universe was very terrifying, and I really enjoyed it. Missed Jurassic Park queue as a maze location. Hopefully one day we'll get it back, but who knows. Universal Monsters Remix Resurrection. I believe this was the first time that Figure started working with Universal Studios, and I remember us going through this and actually really enjoying the music of Figure to hear this iconic Monsters album and to hear that spread out throughout the maze, especially with a lot of the tracks relating to the monsters that were inside the House of Horrors. It was really cool to see that, and I think that really drove our love and whatnot to Figure's music, and I continue to listen to his music to this day. So to hear Figure for the first time in 2013, especially at Halloween Horror Nights, that was huge. We will see a lot more Figure coming down the line, and we will talk about what my reactions were and whatnot about it. But Figure always at the events, always a win for me. So to hear Figure in the Universal Monsters House of Horrors, really, really solid, and I miss the House of Horrors, to say the least. The Walking Dead No Safe Haven was the second maze in the Metro sets on top of Black Sabbath 13. So we only had 2 mazes back here back in the day. And to see that was interesting. Now, they did the facade of the prison, which in my opinion is one of the greatest facades they have constructed, especially for it, like, you know, having guard towers, having the entrance of this prison from season 3 was really cool. They kind of skipped season 2 because there wasn't really as much to cover than there was in season 3, and they were trying to catch up with the season so they can have a horror experience every year for a new season. So to see this and some of the iconic moments of season 3 of obviously going through the prison was really cool. To see, of course, the governor's office and whatnot was really cool. I don't think, was the governor 3 or 4? I don't remember. I've seen that show in so long. But anyway, to see a lot of these iconic scenes, and then the whole facade had a giant, I think it had the tank in the front, which was really cool to see how they got that. Was awesome. So I really enjoyed this one. The Walking Dead mazes, when they actually constructed them, were a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed my time walking through them. So that was cool. Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. I think this was the last year they did it, or 2014. I think this might be the last year, but I didn't get to see it, which was kind of sad. Knowing that it was the last year, I wish I would have went to go see it, but it is what it is. The Terror Tram was invaded by the Walking Dead. So this was the year we had the Walking Dead practically invade Halloween Horror Nights. This was the year that, after a successful 2012, they brought him back, and it was even more successful and popular at the time. Now, to see this return to Halloween Horror Nights was cool because this had like another backstory and whatnot of the Terror Tram, which was really cool. So to see kind of this return and this property of such massive popularity at the time was really cool to see another chapter and whatnot. So that was cool. That Terror Tram was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. Some scare zones we had were Cirque du Clowns, which was on French Street. Obviously, it is what it was in the title. It was a clown's thing. On Baker Street, we had the Curse of Chucky because they were just releasing, I believe, a new Chucky film, and this was how they were promoting it. So that was interesting. But Chucky to come back at the event was really cool. This was the first year that they did The Purge, too. The main entrance front gates scare zone was called Purge Survive the Night. So this is the first year we got to see the Purge at Halloween Horror Nights, and that was really cool at the time. That was a little test phase for what we weren't prepared for to come in the coming future. We had scarecrows in the lower lot, which they were still doing lower lot mazes or scare zones. That was really cool. That kept you focused in between going through Evil Dead, the Metro sets, and Jurassic World, which was Insidious. So that was cool to have that. I miss lower lot mazes. I think it's just too crowded down there now. It's really hard for them to do it, and I'd rather have the actors safe than get hurt or anything. And the last scare zone was Walking Dead Dead on Arrival. This was the first scare zone set back in the Metro area. This was the scare zone that introduced you and guided you into the Metro sets to go to Walking Dead, to go to Black Sabbath. So this was kind of like, they say it's a scare zone, but this one always felt like a little extra maze in a way. So that was really cool to see that. But I just remember me and my cousin just being absolute fanboys at this event. Like, we've already done our homework. We were ready to go. Like, we were on top of it, and we were just excited to be back and to see the event again. That would mark my 3rd year going to HHN, and we were going towards something that we were going to take a step further as being fanboys, and that's speculating. But that's going to be another story for another time. Until then, I will see you right here next week for another episode of Nights of Horror Origins. I'll see you guys real soon.